Hello, it's Theresa. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to turn this inexpensive regular copy paper into this gorgeous pink hand-dyed paper that you can use in all your crafty projects. This paper has great texture and crinkle sound. I just love it. And each sheet is unique. And I'm going to show you step by step how to achieve these kinds of results. Let's head to my kitchen and make it. We're going to begin with 6 to 7 ripe avocados. Now mine aren't quite completely ripe. As you can see, they're a little on the green side yet. So you want them to be nice and dark. This is about the closest that I've got. And you know, how they would be when you're ready to eat them. So after you consume your avocado, you're going to save the peel as well as the pit of the avocado. And for the peels, you're going to want to scrape them down, get all the green fleshy bits out. And I like to use a melon baller. I feel like this does a really good job for that. And then after I use my melon baller, I go in with a vegetable brush. I use this little potato brush. I like it because it's small and it gets into all of the contours of the avocado skin. And so what I do is I just take the skin and I hold it under some running water and just scrub until it doesn't feel slimy anymore. Once your skins and your pits are all scrubbed, you're going to drain them on a paper towel and just kind of let them dry maybe about 6 hours or overnight. You can use them immediately for this solution. However, I have found I get the best results when I allow them to dry first. And I'll insert a picture of what they look like while they're drying. When your skins and pits are all dry, simply put them into a pot. I've got 7 in mine because that's what I had available. But like I said, you can use 6, you can use 5. It's just going to give you a varying degree of intensity to your solution, depending on how many you use and how much water you use. I've got mine in a 3-quart pot, and I'm simply going to put water in this pot to cover them. Now that they're covered with water, I'm going to take this to the stove. I'm going to turn the burner on about medium-high and bring this to a boil. Once you've achieved a boil, you're simply going to turn your burner down to maintain a simmer. And we're going to let that simmer for 30 minutes. The paper we'll be using for dyeing is just regular 20-pound copy paper. Nothing fancy. I happen to be using HP brand today, but that's simply because I purchased it in quantity and got a great deal on it. So literally, the cheapest copy paper that you can come across will work for this project. To create a fun design on our dyed paper, I'm going to be using some vinyl placemats. This happens to be a vintage one that I found on eBay, and it's my favorite. It works really great, leaves a lovely image behind. This step is of course optional. You don't have to have a design on your paper. You can have it plain. Simply just don't use a placemat on top. This is another vintage vinyl placemat that I just found. I just received it yesterday. It's a little wrinkled up, so I'm hoping that doesn't impact our results, but we're gonna give it a try because I think it's a really pretty pattern. I'll also be using this placemat. Now, I purchased this on eBay. It was sold to me as a vintage placemat, but it's not like the first one that I showed you. It's got some thicker embroidery on it and doesn't leave as nice of an impression, and the weight is a little bit lighter. So that affects it as well. But it does leave a fun design, and there are some differences in the detail that you get out of this one opposed to the first placemat set that I showed you. So yeah, we're gonna use it today and I'll show you the differences. The last design that we'll be using is this one. I purchased this new on Amazon, and it is a vinyl placemat. Again, kind of on the lightweight side, doesn't leave as clear of an impression as the first one that I showed you, but still a fun look, and I think it's quite beautiful. I'm going to be doing my paper dyeing here in my dining room. So I have covered my dining room table with this reusable vinyl tablecloth that I purchased on Amazon and will link in the description box below. Of course, you don't need a tablecloth like this. You can use anything that's just going to protect your surface from becoming stained. Next, I'd like to lay my placemats out on the tabletop surface. And this gives me a guide as to where I need to put my papers in order to get 2 pieces of paper under each placemat. It's been 20 minutes, so we are just going to check and see how our solution is coming along. As you can see, we are getting some color, but it's not as intense as I would like it to be. So what I'm going to do at this point is add a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda to my water. I'll give this a little bit of a stir. And we're going to come back and check it again in 15 minutes. Okay, it's been an additional 15 minutes. Let's see where we are. Okay, we've got a nice color going on. Now this is going to give us a very pale pink color, which normally I would think would be perfect, but with Valentine's Day right around the corner, I'd like to see it a little more intense. So I'm going to add just about another, maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon of baking soda and give it 15 more minutes to simmer. Okay, it's been another 15 minutes, so we've simmered this for a total of 1 hour. And I really like this color, and I think that I'm just gonna stop here. Now, if this isn't intense enough for you, or if you want something more leaning on the red side, you can add more baking soda than I did at both the first and second steps, maybe double the amount that I put in. I wouldn't go beyond that. I think that would be a little bit too bold of a color for most applications, but you are the creator, so you do you. Next, I'm going to grab a bowl large enough to hold the liquid. A mesh strainer. And to be extra, I'm using a little bit of cheesecloth just to pick up any of the really fine particles that might be in the solution. This is an optional step. If you've done a thorough job in cleaning your peels and pits, you probably don't even need this. I have a lid that also has strainer holes on the side, so I'm just going to use that to hold my peels and my pits in while I strain the liquid into the bowl. Next, I'm going to take the solution along with a 13x9" pan, and I'm going to go out to my dining room table where we're going to be doing the dyeing. I am protecting my hands from also becoming avocado dyed by wearing some disposable gloves. I'm going to take my solution, pour it into my 13x9" pan, and the reason why I don't do this in the kitchen and carry it to my table is because once there's liquid in there, it's really easy to spill, and I don't want that on my carpet. My next step is I'm going to take this placemat, I'm going to move it to the side, just kind of using it as a guide as to where I'm going to be placing my paper. I'm going to take one sheet of my copy paper, And I'm simply going to saturate it with the dye. Making sure that all of the dried areas get covered. Then I'm going to pull the paper out. Let it drip off slightly in the pan, but keep it nice and wet. And I'm just going to lie it down on my table. I'm going to pick up my next piece and repeat the process. Gently pull this out, and I'm going to go straight over the top of my first piece and just kind of drag it along because I want to put it right next to it. Just like that, leaving a small gap. And if you've got wrinkles, don't worry too much about it. We'll get those out. And at this time, if you are using placemats like I am, I'm going to pick up my placemat and I'm just going to try to center it over the two pieces. Now I've got that design right in the middle, this floral design, and that's what I use to line up the two edges of the paper. And then I just try to get it as equal as I can from top to bottom. I lay it down and I try to smooth out any air bubbles. I'm so sorry about my dog barking. That's my miniature poodle, Winston. I'll insert a picture up there. He has decided that I've been doing this long enough and it's time for some attention. So fortunately, this part of the process doesn't take very long at all. I'm just going over it just to press it down and make sure that I've gotten any air bubbles out and that the placemat is adhering, kind of clinging to the paper. There we go. I'm going to repeat that process with each of the placemats, and then I'll show you a picture of what my table looks like. Okay, so that didn't take very long at all. In fact, I find that part of the process pretty therapeutic. Really, the process itself is not labor intensive. It's just more time intensive. Now you can bake it in the oven instead. That gives you a quicker result, but since when I bake, I don't stack my papers, I'm still only getting, probably 4 papers done in 10 minutes. So I don't know, this way you just lay them all out, you wait about 6 hours and peel off the placemats and do your second batch if you've got more liquid. I used about half my liquid, so that's what I will be doing. I'll probably leave this on. Right now it's about 2 p.m. So I'll probably leave this on until 8 or 9. Take the placemats off, lay out my next batch, and just let them dry overnight. So I'll be back tomorrow to show you the results. All my papers are dry and I just set them under a heavy book to flatten them out a little bit. They were pretty flat to begin with, but if you want them even flatter, if you don't need to iron them, just put them under something heavy just for a few hours and they will flatten right out. As you can see, using the very same process, very same solution, I achieved a variety of colors and designs. Now I said I would show you the impressions that I got from each of the placemats, so I'll do that right now. So this is one of the vintage placemats that I used, and this one is my favorite, like I said, to work with because it leaves the clearest impressions on my paper. And using this is what I achieved. Now you'll probably notice that the right side is darker than the left side, and it's got a fainter impression. And that's simply because I chose to do that by dragging my second piece over the first after I'd laid it down wet to line the paper up. Now, I like the variances, and that's why I chose to do it that way. If you don't like that, then you can find another way to line yours up that doesn't involve contact with this piece from this one, hence absorbing some of the additional liquid. But I really like the variety. And just a little bit closer up, you can just see how it's more faded on the edges, just a lighter shade of pink, whereas this one, the pattern is more pronounced. But the way I'm going to use them is in a journal. So it's just going to be folded in half. I'm just going to be using one of the sheets at a time. So it's really just going to serve to give me two different looks. And I think that they are both equally beautiful. The next one we're going to look at is this placemat. Now this one is very similar to the one that I just showed you, but this background is different. It's more of a crosshatch than like a mesh, and the embroidery is thicker on some of the details, so the impression isn't as defined. And I'll show you right now what I got from this one. Still beautiful, different, and fun, but just for reference, this is the first one, and that's the second. So still a beautiful, fun design, certainly acceptable to use in your journals. And there's even an impression on the back. It's faint, but still decorative. Again, I would fold these in half to use them, and I think these also are very pretty. Next, I used this new to me vintage placemat, and I had just gotten it. As you can see, it's still not lying very flat, and so that may be why I didn't get a very clear impression, but I still think it's fun, and I'm still going to try some other things to work with it, but that is what that one looks like. And again, I just think it's fun to have a variety of designs and details, and this is what it looks like on the back. So there is some impression on the back as well, or pattern. And folded in half in my journal will look like this, and I think it's going to be gorgeous. And the last placemat design that I used was this one. This was a new purchase placemat off of Amazon, and it's just not quite as weighty as the vintage ones, and so I don't know if that's why the impression is more subtle, but it's still very pretty, and this is what I was able to achieve with that one. This one didn't transfer to the back as well as the others did, but there's still a faint design. And I even took just the rest of the solution that was in the pan after I finished all my paper dyeing, and I used the cheesecloth that I strained the mixture with and just kind of dabbed it around until it was covered and let it dry overnight. And I think this will be a lot of fun to use in mixed media projects. So altogether, I was able to make 40 sheets of beautiful pink hand-dyed paper and the bonus of the cheesecloth. I'm super excited to use these in my upcoming projects, and I really hope that I've inspired you to try making some of your own. I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please remember to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Also, click the notification bell so that you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. Until then, bye!